In several extremely important cases, the DOJ has demonstrated its power to correct violations. There is the case of the dyslexic Yale medical student, Fred Romberg, currently a practicing anesthesiologist. Fred overcame serious obstacles that would have broken another person, having to support his family from age 14 after his father returned from the Vietnam War with severe injuries, and being on his own since age 16. He worked as a mechanic at a community college garage, where a professor recognized that he was extremely smart and encouraged him to obtain a GED. He was referred to a learning specialist, and following a full evaluation, was diagnosed with dyslexia. Fred is highly intelligent and presents with an unexpected difficulty in reading quickly and automatically. As a result, he requires additional time to read. He can think and reason very quickly, and with some extra time to read, his comprehension is at the highest levels. With accommodations, primarily extra time, Fred rose from a GED to an Associate of Arts degree to a BS in Electrical Engineering at Virginia Polytechnic Institute to an MS in Electrical Engineering at Caltech with a cumulative GPA of 3.7. He earned a pilot's license, obtained both commercial and flight instructor licenses, and built his own plane, which he enjoys flying. With accommodations for his dyslexia on his MCAT medical college admission test, Fred was admitted to Yale Medical School, where he continued to receive accommodations, primarily extra time on tests, and performed well. Despite his prior history of accommodations and the recommendations of his professors and his evaluators, the National Board of Medical Examiners, NBME, the agency responsible for certifying that medical students have satisfactorily completed their initial medical training via the Gatekeeper U.S. Medical Licensing Exam, USMLE, initially refused Fred accommodations. As a result, he failed the USMLE twice. Students must pass the USMLE in order to graduate from medical school. If unable to pass, Fred could not graduate and go on to a residency or, for that matter, a career and life as a physician. For more than 3 years, the NBME refused to allow Fred accommodations on the USMLE. There was no question of his intelligence. He scored in the superior range, nor of his dyslexia. His history and symptoms, as well as very poor reading fluency, established that. The NBME simply based its refusal on the fact that Fred had grown up in a very poor household, and therefore, they claimed, his reading problems were a result of his disadvantaged upbringing and not dyslexia, somehow perversely asserting that if you grew up poor, you cannot also be dyslexic. It seemed to overlook the fact that he excelled in math and science and had been able, with accommodations, to successfully complete a graduate degree at Caltech. Fred poignantly describes the anguish associated with watching his classmates graduate and move on, and the embarrassment associated with having to explain to classmates, faculty, and friends why he was not graduating with his class, not knowing if he would ever graduate or become a doctor was a persistent worry. Finally, after 38 months of applying, being turned down, appealing, being turned down, appealing, and at the same time studying nonstop, day and night, and failing the USMLE without accommodations, Fred filed a complaint with the U.S. Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division. The attorneys there agreed to take the case. The department investigated and in February 2011 announced that a settlement of Fred's case had been reached, and he would be allowed to take the test for the third time. This time, with the accommodation of extra time, he handily passed the same examination without difficulty, showing that it had never been a matter of lack of knowledge, but rather lack of time that caused him not to be able to show his ability, and as a result, to fail test after test.